On the podcast, a two-part series, how your hard-earned ratepayers' money is simply flushed away with gay abandon. Ratepayers' money, taxpayers' money. Grant Robertson, Nicola Willis, council chief executives, councils. One chief executive spent $43,000 on a leadership course in America. Well, ratepayers paid for that. Read the Room Council, Company District Council. You're out of touch. How can we hold these people to account? Jordan Williams joins us shortly. Let's go.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, you're with the Editor-in-Chief. Welcome along. I'm Duncan Garner, and please subscribe. It helps us stay around much longer. $43,000 on a leadership course. Darren Edwards, the Company District Council Chief Executive, who once went on about making things affordable, must have had a brain fart moment because, get this, in these tight times, he spent $43,000 of ratepayers' money on a 6-day leadership course. Really, Darren? In these tight times when all of us are cutting back? Is the council brain dead or tone deaf? Why is it that CEOs are paid more than the Prime Minister? Why do the Greens spend $189,000 on flights in 3 months? Are they really green or just expensive hypocrites? Jordan Williams will discuss all this, but first, my slam dunk.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, so much for being frugal with our money. Tonight, the guilty party's throwing your hard-earned money away. They might as well print millions of bucks and burn it. You might get a better outcome. I want to show you how our MPs, government, local councils really treat our hard-earned tax dollars. And I'll show you how one council in particular is just tone bloody deaf. Honestly, they haven't read the room. Local government has refused to take heed of the messages to stop wasting money on pointless projects. Our targets tonight are the villains in the government and local government, dreadful custodians of our money. They would never spend their own money this way. No way. National, Labour, all sides are guilty, and no one will be spared tonight. I wish we were able to hold these people properly to account for this spending and these losses. Let's start with the biggest spender of your money. Even Treasury says he spent too much on COVID. The biggest spend in the OECD per head of population, $66 billion spent. Money borrowed, printed, and thrown around under his government. Not much to show for it, of course. Oh, of course, now we're left with this huge intergenerational debt, a prolonged recession, a long period of high inflation, high interest rates, rising unemployment. He's gone now, but Grant Robertson spent $66 billion on COVID alone. It saved lives, apparently. We ain't got much to show for it, and remarkably, he can't find a thing he regrets.
Do you now accept that your government spent too much?
No.
Great. Well, that's cleared up then. It's a costly business, this democracy. Some of Labour's other clangers, and we must not forget this. Labour announced the $785 million Sky Path across the Harbour Bridge. It spent $51 million on project and design consultants. 5 families were pressured to sell their homes to the government. Then it abandoned the project. $51 million gone. 5 families lost their homes. What a debacle. Accountability? Zip. The light rail to the airport saw not 1 metre of track laid, but Labour spent $229 million on 200 consultants before National pulled the pin. What a total waste. Your money gone. Health New Zealand, despite all its staff, still spent $2.7 million on consultants to manage change. The latest figures are also out of how much it costs to run Parliament. This does not include ministers, just MPs' flights and accommodation. Now, the total figure for just the first 3 months of this year is $2 million on accommodation and flights. That's just in 3 months for the parties, for the MPs that aren't ministers. $2 million in 3 months. The Greens spent $184,000 in 3 months on domestic air travel. So that's $184K in just 90 days. Hypocrites? Oh yes. Silent? You bet. Sorry? For what? And who can forget last year, Te Pāti Māori MP Debbie Ngāti-Wapaka spent $39K on flights in just 3 months, more than the 5 ACT MPs who aren't ministers. He spent more than 5 other MPs. Her spending was the same as 5 MPs from another party. It's astonishing. Worse, she wouldn't say where she'd been. She just went silent. Lucky they took photos of her surfing in Hawaii during the time she was away. It was World Oceans Day, apparently. Kind of gives the game away, Debbie. So thank you, taxpayers. She surfed while we paid for it, and we're still drowning in her debt. The government's drilled that into us in the past couple of years that they must save money and you must save money too. There's not enough to cover everything, and cuts have been made across the board. A rather hypocritical government has then told local government to pull their heads in, to cut their cloth as well. The irony of that statement is national. So to national we go, and we have guilty parties here too. Firstly, Chris Luxon, guilty party number 1. Despite at the time owning 7 properties and the apartment he owned and lived in Wellington at the time was mortgage-free, he still claimed for a short time a $50,000 allowance, housing allowance. Bad look. He got caught out. He paid it back, but no one's forgotten. So the very latest spending disasters, and this one is one that we can pin on the Finance Minister Nicola Willis, and her rash decision to cancel the inter-islander ferry contracts with South Korea. And despite saying for the last election, and this is a direct quote from Willis, National was always more careful with the taxpayers' money. What a joke. She ploughed ahead and cancelled the ferry contract, and it's cost us dearly. No digging, no due diligence, just pure politics. It's cost us the break fee bill all up with no ferries delivered. Just the cost of Labour and National's mismanagement is now put at more than $600 million. $600 million and not one ferry to show for it. Now, do that equivalent of that at your work and you'll be out of a job. Yet they coast on. Willis's decision was rushed. I don't think it was thought through. I thought it was naive, inexperienced and out of her depth. $600 million, the final overall cost of the cancelled ferries. $600 million. It's the same amount of money that transformed Pharmac's purchasing of cancer drugs. Imagine if we doubled the spend. Who might be alive today, taking that ferry money and put it into drugs? Willis is about to embark on more cutbacks in the lead up to next year's budget. They need to save more money. They've hardly saved much at all. And now we know why. Because she's reallocated money. Not cut it, just reallocated. So Willis's credibility takes a huge hit from this. And she'll struggle to lecture us again with any authority on the need to be frugal. Sorry, Nicola, you blew more than $500 million and we've got nothing to show for it. Now to the councils around the country. They all waste money, whether it be on Wellington's 5 public toilets for $2.3 million or Invercargill's $1.9 million budget for the clock tower upgrade. Why give the price of your budget? Get tenders first. Ask what they can do it for. Why give them the roof price, the ceiling? Ridiculous. Anyway, it's what councils pay their CEOs that rankles with me. Why do small town council CEOs earn more than the Prime Minister? I'll show you this. And the Tone Deaf Company Council, they did something extra than pay their CEO a lot of money. They ignored all messages to pare back spending and be frugal in tough times by sending their CEO, Darren Edwards, business class, to America to attend a 6-day elite leadership program at Harvard Business School. Edwards attended the Leadership for Senior Executives program between June June the 8th and 13th. It was approved by the Mayor and the Deputy and 2 councillors. It was a nice, cosy club. He flew out to Boston on June the 6th. The council paid a total of $43,000 for the trip all up. Almost $12,000 on return business class flights, a couple of nights accommodation, $400 for 5 Uber trips, expensive Uber trips, and $30,000 tuition, which included accommodation on the campus. No wonder rates went up 7% this year. It'll be another 7% for the next 10 years, they say, at council. How and why did they approve such a trip when the council can't make ends meet right now? Was it really necessary to send a CEO away for $43,000 trip, a leadership course in tough times? For the record, when Darren Edwards got the job, he told the Herald, quote, affordability is a big issue for everyone. It's about how we are financially prudent and ensuring that provides for a sustainable financial strategy. What a load of shit. Words are easy. Perhaps he forgot what he said back then. Only say it if you mean it, mate. The rest is noise and cliches and pointless dribble. But we haven't forgotten $43,000 from a tone-deaf council on a tone-deaf CEO. Wake up and read the room and understand your community. The sense of entitlement over your money is simply delusional and unacceptable. And finally, what we pay our council CEOs has gone over the top. Considering the PM of New Zealand earns close to $500, these top 5 council bosses are raking it in. They are just puffed up bureaucrats who got lucky. Christchurch City Council, they paid over $1 million for a couple of their CEOs. Gore District Council, $771,000. Auckland Council, Phil Wilson, $735,000. Rotorua Lakes Council, a couple of candidates there, $695,000. And Tauranga City Council, Marty Grenfell, $623,000. Almost $200,000 more than the Prime Minister. Even the man in charge of Palmerston North earns the same as the PM. Palmerston North, CEO. Earn same as PM. No wonder rates are through the roof. We need more accountability. We need more restraint from the very people telling us to tighten our belts. It's time to turn this on its head. Those who waste our money are held to account. They need to be held to account over the rest of their working life. We need to do something. It may change how they do things. Waste our money and you should be held to account. Firstly through an inquiry, then the penalties handed down by an overarching judge. We need something, some accountability. Some kind of accountability. Too much has been flushed over the past decade for zero accountability and for zero progress for New Zealand. I've had enough. Haven't you?
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, to discuss all this, Jordan Williams from the Taxpayers Association joins us now. Lots to break down. G'day, Jordan. Nice to see you.
G'day, Duncan.
Hey, nice to see you again. The council chief executives, I might start there, and I spoke about that earlier in the podcast. Their salaries have become just out of whack now. The top five earn way more than the Prime Minister, which just seems to be strange.
Well, on average, they're all earning far more than a cabinet minister, and that really says it all. And this appears to be this Kapiti Coast District Council CEO appears to be just cream on the top. We're going to write you a check for another 30, 40K to go to Harvard, have fun, and tack on a holiday at the end.
$43,000. I've been through that and I've looked at this trip. So it's a 6-day leadership course for $30,000. A couple of nights in a hotel cost $1,000. Business class return flights. These guys at Kapiti Council tone deaf. It was the mayor and the deputy mayor and 2 councillors who approved this. What on earth are they thinking?
Well, since you asked me for this interview, I had a look and found the official information response, and it talks about the media report talks about a committee of these councillors and the mayor signing off on it. But it might be a committee, but they never actually met. It's simply a discussion the CEO had with the mayor, and then an email that went round, and they all said, yes, fantastic, go for it, sort of thing. It's very, very odd. Because here's the thing, Duncan. If you go and ask, and I'm not against professional development, you need to hold, although in fairness, given how much this chap's paid, is it like 360 grand or something?
Kapiti Council? Come on.
It's a bit astonishing. But in the private sector, if you go and ask your boss to make a significant contribution to a professional development course, you're always asked for something in return. For example, we need to bond you for 6 months to make sure that we get the benefit of that course. And it appears that hasn't happened here. There's nothing like that mentioned in any of the paperwork. I wrote an email to the mayor and the CEO, although the CEO's on leave. I wonder if he's perhaps still maybe it was a month-long trip in New York and
maybe it was
holiday.
Longer.
But the mayor came back and said, I'll send that on and we'll do it as an official information response. Come on. It's a simple question. Is the CEO bonded to the council, or have ratepayers paid for a private benefit with no guarantees that the leadership in return?
Yeah, the answer, of course, is that there's no bonding going on at all. Now, with the trip, 6 days, a leadership course at Harvard, at a time when New Zealanders are being asked to tighten their belts, but also at a time when the council's putting up rates by 6.9% in Kapiti. 6.9%. There's a reason why your rates are going up, because of spending like this. Not, of course, because of that, but that's ridiculous.
No, that's true but misleading, Duncan, because when you look over the last 3 years, because remember that councils have this incredible sort of 3-year cycle.
Yeah.
Where after the election, they seriously increase the rates and then they tap it back for election year. So it might be 6.5 this year, but over the last 3 years cumulative, it's 35%. This chief executive, this council, this mayor has delivered rates increases of more than a third, and either the guy's really bad and needs to go to Harvard to learn something, or it appears they're pretending he's really good and are rewarding him with this ratepayer-funded trip to Harvard.
Let me tell you what's worse. They also predict for the next 10 years, it'll be on average 7% a year increase for the next 10 years to catch up. And when he got the job in 2022, I read that he said, quote, affordability and financial sustainability are the key to success in Kapiti. Well, maybe you can look at your own words there, pal.
Well, he'll be getting to Harvard obviously knowing the meaning of the word gaslighting, because that is gaslighting ratepayers.
Isn't it, though? And there's probably a lot of the stuff we don't see that's happened as well. So this guy's just been called out. But there seems to be no contrition. There's no apology to ratepayers. The ratepayers just have to suck it up. They wouldn't even do this with their money. Put it that way.
Well, to be frank, when you paid 100K more than a cabinet minister, you can do it on your own money. But ultimately, the person responsible isn't the CEO. It is the elected official. It is the mayor, who I note is restanding. It is for her to defend this because she was the one that signed off on it with a couple of councillors, but she was the one that forwarded it around and said, I've approved this and want you to. But this is just scratches the surface of the waste that goes on in local government. And until we hold the elected officials accountable, it will continue.
What about Nicola Willis? What about the ferry decision? You know, this has cost us, well, they say upwards of $600 million. It was a decision taken, a rash decision without due diligence. What's your take on it?
Well, I'm just off a meeting with my board where there are some fiscal home truths that Nicola Willis needs to face up to. But on this one, I'm actually going to defend Nicola. One of the problems with politics is there's always a reluctance to cement an opportunity cost or sorry, what's called a
Yep.
sunk cost rather.
Yep.
And so here you had this ferry Rolls Royce idea with it's going to be hundreds of millions to redo terminals, to replace 3 ships with 2 mega-sized super ships. Somehow that was going to make us more resilient in the eyes of the last government and Kiwi Rail. And the government's staring down what is huge blowouts to say, Taiho, stop, which only really a new government can do. Because you think of a politician can never really go back on their own decision if it proves to be wrong. Because
We
what you
saw that
then
with light
do
rail.
is you and me will go after them and say, look at this money that you've wasted. So there's this real inertia to the status quo. Whereas in business, even if you're cementing a loss, if you're seeing more losses coming or it's going to continue to blow out, you will actually say, halt, cancel. So I'm a little bit reluctant to pile into Nicola Willis on that. And I say that as someone that over the next few months, you're going to see the Taxpayers Union's going to be holding her to account around, she says she's cutting what spend. That's just demonstrably wrong. We're now facing the second, if not the highest, 10-year gilt rate, 10-year bond rate in the Western world. The klaxons are going off, the red lights are flashing. Treasury, that report last week, is basically saying fire, danger. And yet Nicola Willis is pretending that the fiscals are being well managed.
Yeah, and look at Grant Robertson at the on Jack Thames interview where he was asked, "Is there any of your spending you regret?" All those billions, and he says, "Nope, none of it."
Yes, the lack of self-awareness or contrition is strong in that one.
Yeah, it really is. Taxpayers get taken for a ride on so many things. I would go back and look at the Harbour Bridge consultants. When they were the government was looking at putting that sky path over under Labour's Day. They spent $51 million on consultants, and 5 people were removed from their homes by Waka Kotahi on the North Cape Point side. 5 of 7 homes were sold to Waka Kotahi, so those people lost their homes, and nothing happened after that. It's appalling.
It's almost as if government actually isn't that great at doing things, and it is kind of what drives me is that I'm not one of these radicals that doesn't believe in government. I just think that it should be focused at the few things only government can do, and actually pretty heavily restricted on doing stuff where it ought not to be there. I'm not saying that the government shouldn't be looking at infrastructure like the Harbour Bridge, although it is demonstrative of how poor it is that it spent so long pontificating about effing bike path across Auckland. That is not the pressing issue in Auckland right now in terms of urban transport. But it is illustrative of how government can be inherently pretty disconnected to the voting public.
Well, it's like the $66 billion you spend over COVID. What do we have to show for it? Well, they say lives, and that's debatable. $66 billion. And can you name anything? Businesses stayed alive, I suppose.
Well, we've got the hangover. I mean, and actually, I mean, it's all very well for me to get hoppity mad at Grant Robertson. I'm more hoppity mad that we elected a government with a very clear mandate to get spending back under control. And we learned earlier this month that there are more bureaucrats in Wellington right now than there was when National were elected. That squarely, the blame for that is squarely at Nicola Willis, who was the responsible minister for the public sector, for the public service. And she should be asking questions that she says out there, well, I'm doing cuts, but I can't be, I'm not going to run an austerity framework. Well, you don't need to run an austerity framework when you had the last government explode spending, explode the public service, and we elected a new government to get the books back into shape and tackle the wasteful spending, and she's simply not delivering.
No, in fact, the whole government, that's why they're sitting at 31%. I mean, Luxon's need to take an axe to the cost of living crisis. Nothing's happened.
Well, I actually think he's been badly let down by Nicola Willis. I mean, the government is in real trouble next year when Mr. Luxon has to stare into the voters' eyes and say, "Do you feel better off than 3 years ago?" And the answer right now is probably not. And that is because, frankly, Nicola Willis has squandered the opportunity. She had when else in an MMP environment are you going to get both your support partners elected on a platform of reducing government spending?
Yeah,
and yet she hasn't. I heard,
why hasn't
frankly, an outrageous interview on Heather Duplessis-Allen last week where Nicola Willis said that she has cut spending. I'm sorry, but cutting spending and then just shifting spending the money elsewhere is not a cut in anyone else's book.
No, what they've
my board
reallocated, I think
says
it was,
to me, we need you to cut expenditure. And I go, well, I did. I cut spending on advertising and I put it into staff. That's not a cut.
Yeah. I think they've reallocated $21 billion. Now, Seymour said he'd cut $20 billion, but they've reallocated it. You did right. They found another program to put it into.
But it's not a cut. And actually, it needs to be called out. If reaction and her speech in the House really calling that to account, I think that one of the issues that New Zealand has is because the Nats, the perception is, although actually look at that poll that we released last week, that even the public, they're net underwater. They're in negative territory when you ask voters, is the government doing a good job or a poor job of getting the books back into shape? They're underwater on that.
Yeah, and I know all the signals are, well, that's why Hipkins is doing so well, because all the signals are negative. How do you feel better about the country? No. Do you feel we're in the right direction? No. Do you feel better off? No.
I think the other thing that staggers me is the extent to which business is turning against this government.
Yeah.
That the sort of pontificating and browbeating of business, there's a real anti-business rhetoric comes out of this current beehive. Case in point was Nicola Willis hauling her old boss, the boss of her former employer, from Terra to talk about the cost of
butter, milk,
butter. That's right. I mean, an important issue for Tim and taxpayer and Sally, the single mum struggling with the groceries. All that would be fine if they were actually dealing with the fundamental issues that the country faces that is driving the cost of living crises. But they're not. And it is a continuation of what we've had, frankly, for a generation, and we're all sick of, which is sort of comms-led government rather than good policy-led government. And, I focus in it is on the fiscals. There's other stuff in the government that they're doing really well on. Obviously, you look at the way Erica Stanford is having a very honest conversation with New Zealanders around that NCEA is fundamentally flawed, needs to be replaced. Chris Bishop is having an honest conversation with New Zealanders about how much the RMA makes us poorer. Nicola Willis needs to do the same. Have an honest conversation, as her own officials in Treasury are trying to do. They are yelling fire. The bond markets are screaming fire. New Zealand right now, our 10-year bond rate is the second highest in the world. We're second only to the UK. Have you seen the basket case the UK fiscals are in?
It's a nightmare there. So we are second to them. I think our economy's at a real crossroads. I'm going to do something tomorrow in Invercargill. I've been asked to talk to a business audience. I'm going to go down there because it hasn't hit them yet. It hasn't hit them in Invercargill. They've got good dairy prices.
South Island, okay. It's two-tiered. It's amazing. I mean,
it is
just amazing the way the South Island is such a different flavour and feel to coming back to North Island.
Auckland's housing market's down 20%, Wellington's down 30%. Those two towns are burning. The unemployment in Auckland is 6.1%. It's gone up 1.5% in 1 year.
Well, there's the other thing. I mean, you go to Wellington and you speak to cafe owners and they say, it's all these cuts to staff. There is no cuts to staff. There is more staff. The issue is that they're at home.
Yeah, they're not spending.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, so it's time for letters to the editor, and this one says, Kia ora, Duncan, I hope this email finds you well. I'm a year 4 to 5 teacher at Manganui School in Northland, And my class, Tuatala, are beginning the journey of podcasting as part of our literacy program. The Tamariki are especially excited because we are creating our own class podcast in Term 4 where students will share their writing and ideas. As part of the journey, we'd love to learn from someone with real experience in the podcasting world. We're wondering if you might be interested in talking to our class virtually about your podcast. What makes a great podcast? Any tips for young creators? Even a short kōrero would mean a lot and inspire our students as they develop their voices. Thanks for considering our request. We know you're busy. We'd really appreciate any time you could spare. Regards, Janella Henati, Tuatara class. I've got back to you, and I'm happy to help. So we'll link up virtually. Happy to help you anytime. That's us. Thanks for your feedback, folks, and your support. Get in touch with our social media, Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, or flick us an email at duncan@rover.nz. To my team, Brody, thank you, brother. We'll do it again tomorrow. Remember, life's a dress rehearsal, no curtain raiser. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth. So get out and enjoy it and have a great rest of the day, folks. Take care, New Zealand. Ta-ra.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.